Okay, this is Skill Acquisition Lesson 1 on the characteristics of skill and skill continua. Hopefully by the end of the lesson you'll be able to identify the characteristics of skill, describe the different types of skills, giving examples, and the different types of transfer of learning. Okay, so what is a skillful performance? A skillful performer has a learned ability to bring about predetermined results with minimum outlay of time and energy. And we can remember the characteristics of skill by looking at the acronym LEGFACT. A skill has got to be learned firstly, so you've got to work hard to perfect it and get it right. A skill is efficient, it doesn't waste any time or energy when you're performing the skill. It's goal directed, so it's got a clear aim. It's fluent, so it looks smooth and it's not jerky at all. It's aesthetically pleasing, so people pay good money to watch it because it looks good. It's consistent, so it's not a one-off performance, high success rate, and it follows what's known as the technical model of what a performance should look like when performing that skill. And we can classify these skills on what is known as a continuum, which is an imaginary sliding scale where we can place the skills. The first continuum we're going to look at is the open to closed continuum. An open skill, such as a hockey pass, is where the environment is changing. So what is around you that is changing is unpredictable. And it's unpredictable because we've got teammates that we don't know what they're going to do, and we've also got opposition and we're not sure where they're going to be. Whereas a closed skill such as a shot put, the environment is stable all the time and predictable, and we can practice it over and over again in the same way. The next continuum is the gross to fine, and it's to do with muscle usage. So a gross skill involves large muscle groups such as the legs in a rugby tackle, whereas a fine skill involves more small intricate muscles such as a short push in table tennis. Self-paced to externally paced. A self-paced skill is where you as a performer control when you perform that skill, such as deciding when to serve in badminton, whereas an externally paced skill, the environment or somebody else or something else controls the speed and timing. So returning a tennis shot, you have to wait for your opponent to actually serve before you return the shot. The next continuum is the only one with 3 different elements, and firstly we've got a discrete skill which has a clear beginning and end. So a tennis serve, the first part of the tennis serve is where you throw the ball up in the air, and the end is where you follow through with the shot and return to your position. It's got a clear beginning and end, you can see where it starts and where it finishes. The opposite end of that is a continuous skill, such as cycling, running, rowing, where the skill has no clear beginning and end. It goes over and over again, is repeated throughout. And in the middle, we've got serial skills, which contain several discrete elements that can be practiced individually but have to be put back together, such as a gymnastics routine, a dance routine, or even the triple jump, the hop, the step, the jump in athletics. The next one is organisation continuum. So a skill that is low in organisation is easy to break down in what we call subroutines. Now the subroutines are the individual parts that make up the skill. So the subroutines of the tennis serve we've just looked at. The first subroutine is where you throw the ball up in the air. The second subroutine is where you bring your racket back behind your head. Third subroutine is where you make contact. So we can break skills up into different parts known as subroutines. And a low organised skill is quite easy to break up. So a swimming stroke, you can break up the legs and the arms in terms of the action and practice them separately. Whereas a highly organised skill such as a volley in football is more difficult to break down into those subroutines. And finally we've got simple and complex skills. A simple skill requires very few decisions when you actually perform it, such as a forward roll in gymnastics, whereas a complex skill, such as basketball dribbling, you've got lots of decisions to make, such as how hard to dribble, where to dribble, which hand, where are your opponents, which direction are you going in. It's a lot harder to perform because of the decisions you have to make. And finally we've got transfer of learning. And transfer of learning is when skills that you learn in one activity will influence the learning of another, and it explains why some people are good at different sports even though they've never played them before. And there's 4 different types of transfer that could take place. So positive transfer is when the learning of one skill will help the learning of another. So if you've previously played basketball and performed a chest pass, when you come to play netball, you can easily replicate that and transfer the pass across, and that will improve performance and save time on learning new skills. However, you've got to be careful with negative transfer. So the learning of one skill might hinder the learning of another. So if you've previously played badminton and you served in badminton underarm, when you come to play tennis, there is a risk that you might transfer the negative serve to serve underarm in tennis, which the better serve would be to serve overarm. A common example is when you've got basketballers learn to dribble with the ball, go to play netball and perform footwork errors. Zero transfer, when the one skill has no effect on the learning of another. The subroutines are completely different, such as swimming and rock climbing. And finally, bilateral transfer, which is learned to perform a skill on one side of the body, such as the left hand, will improve the learning on the other side of the body with the right hand. So learning to kick with your left foot or right foot will improve the learning when you come to kick with the opposite foot. Dribbling with your left hand in basketball will aid dribbling with your right hand in basketball.